Pam, when you were taking the Adderall Diaries as the memoir and then adapting it into a screenplay, how much did you embellish the drug use and sex scenes, or did you try to tone them down a bit? Did you want to?
The drug use and the sex scenes are actually toned down quite a bit. I think that was something that Stephen was very interested in the book, and I was less interested in the film, because, you know, to me this film was about the relationships between these characters and how consequences in those relationships led to a realization in the main character. So his you know, unusual sex life and his pretty moderate drug use are both parts of that and parts of who he is. But to me, those are both sort of elements of a character. And I think that, you know, S&M is all over the media, all over cinema right now. And so to me, it wasn't as shocking as it maybe was in like 2008 when he was writing the book, in 2009 when it came out. So it seemed pretty easy to me to accept that that's a part of this guy's life and that his Adderall use is a part of his life, and we didn't really need to talk about it that much. It's just part of who he is.
Sure, sure. James, I think you've said previously that Stephen writing the book was not just a memoir. He was trying to create a piece of art.
Okay.
How?
Okay, I think I know what you're getting at, yeah.
Okay. How much do you feel about that in your own work? Because there's a lot of similarities, it seems like, between the two of you. You're both very passionate. You go against the grain. You're both writers.
I think maybe I was trying to define what the book was more, meaning it's not just a straight memoir. You know, this book is not just, then I did this, then I did this, then I did this, then I did this. It's more, there's a more complicated kind of structure or approach here where the way that he's remembering things is focused on, and and he starts to question or highlight that process in himself and extend it to all of us, that, you know, we edit and tell our stories in particular ways, both to ourselves and to others. For me, the books that I've written are, you know, categorized as fiction. I certainly use some of my own experiences in those books, but they are very much, you know, fiction. So I think I'm doing something a little different.
Right. One of my favorite quotes is actually that, to step out of our own story, and then once we do, we see the world differently and the people around us differently. Did the two of you experience that in your own life, having watched Stephen and his process and whether his story was totally true or not? Did you have any of your own revelations about your life?
Part of the appeal for me in telling this story was the opportunity to look at places in my own life where my narrative doesn't match someone else's. I think everybody tells the story of a breakup differently, a relationship with a parent, and that's fascinating. It's not malicious, it's not flawed, it's part of who we are. We're narrative machines, and we need to make sense of who we are, and we need to make sense of what's happened to us.
James, anything?
Well, my story about myself goes up in conflict with sort of a public persona, you know, almost all the time. You know, I am a public personality, and oftentimes I don't think that what's projected out there is me, but I've come to accept that as, you know, somebody that sort of lives half of his life in public. I know that I can't control that version of myself, that story that is being told by a big collective or through, you know, a lot of different outlets. It certainly contrasts with who I think I am, but I also have kind of reconciled myself with it, that it's just part of my life.
Great. Thank you.